right? So we are live on my channel as well. Yeah.
Awesome.
So yeah. So hi guys, welcome back to the channel. आज मेरे साथ एक बहुत ही special guest जुड़े हुए हैं, Mayank Grover. He is the founder and CEO of Outscal, and Outscal actually offers a lot of interesting courses. So Mayank, over to you. थोड़ा सा आप अपना introduction दे सकते हैं?
Sure. Thanks first of all, Nikhil, for having me as well on the channel, and good to talk to you as well in person. I think we've been connected for a while. So for everybody, my name is Mayank Grover. I've been in the game industry for the last 10 plus years now. Got the opportunity to work with some of the best global brands as well, such as Dana, Kixeye, Electronic Arts. These are the companies that I've worked with in US. For India, okay, I ended up working with companies like Jungly Games, a lot of companies in Middle East and Dubai and a bunch of other places as well remotely. So all in all, got a chance to work on console games, Xbox, PlayStation focused games, dance games, Transformers games, MMORPG games, mobile focused games, etc. So real money casino games across a lot of different games as well. So in the last 10 years in my journey, it took me really long time to get into game industry as well. And Outscale was kind of that inception कि अगर मुझे 4 साल लग गए to transition into the game industry, can I build something that helps people transition and become professionals into this industry, be it by getting a job, be it by building side projects and becoming indie developers, publishing their games on the Play Store, etc. So how can people help? How can we help people to become more career focused and take this as a good career opportunity? So that was always the inception for Outscale, partly because of the struggles that I faced in the 10 odd plus years that I spent in the industry as well. So happy to answer any specific question, Nikhil, if आपके दिमाग में कुछ specific है you want me to dive into as well.
Yeah, actually, आपने मेरे को recently reach out किया था कि Outscale is working on this scholarship program for individuals who want to tap into the industry. So maybe I loved the idea that people are supporting the Indian gaming ecosystem, and I personally believe that that was a really noble cause to support. So आप थोड़ा सा इसके ऊपर बता सकते हो कि यार ये scholarship exactly है क्या, और इससे किसी को अगर start करना है तो उसको कैसे help होगी?
Right. So actually, Nikhil, Outscale का एक ही product था, which is called as Full Stack Game Development Program. It's a 7-month long program. People who were serious about getting a job in the industry were the ones who were always admitted into this program. And ये program काफी selective था. So you only take hardly like 15-20 people a month maximum in a batch. Our biggest batch was like 21 people till date. So a lot of people came to Outscale and were part of the community because they wanted to learn how to build games, but they were not yet ready to take up jobs. So the idea for this new program that we launched in January of 2022 called Outscale Launchpad, the idea was that this is a smaller 45-day program, but it will teach you all the basics to get started if you have even no programming background at all, right? So you don't need any computer science degree, you don't need any programming background, but you can start from absolutely zero and get into the industry by building game projects, right? And potentially turn this into a side income, explore it as a hobby, become an indie developer. You can explore a lot of these different paths and always explore your passion towards game development. So when we launched the very first cohort of Launchpad, we announced $70,000 USD of worth of scholarship for students who were interested in really exploring this as a passion. So now the first plan has already kick-started for Launchpad, and there are 100+ students that are already going through it. And we are excited to see what kind of projects they'll be able to make at the end of 45 days. So the interesting thing here is कि पहले 3 to 4 weeks में they get to learn all the basics कि game बनाते कैसे हैं, how to start a platformer game like a Mario kind of a game, etc. And then next 2 weeks is completely open where they can team up with other batchmates वगैरह and then start to build a lot of awesome game projects as well. So the best part is that at the end of this program, Outscale will potentially even invest money into some of the projects which we see कि यार इनमें potential है. They can actually become really good game projects, and we'll provide them access to bigger companies and bigger publishing partners, and even Outscale will probably invest as well. So this was a big focus push for us for this month to figure out how can we enable more and more people to get into the industry, not just through the means of jobs, but also through these alternative means where they get to explore their passion and really build some really kick-ass awesome stuff.
Fantastic. I mean, that's a really, unique thing to be a part of. And guys, Outscale is doing some really amazing stuff. Some of their programs have been so well structured that they also are tied up with some of the best Indian game companies. So, can you talk a little bit about that partnership? Because on your website, you've mentioned that you've got brands like MPL, Simple, even DefSort, right? Tata Consultancy Services. So what has been your experiences building these courses curated towards the requirements of these particular studios?
Yeah, so I think the full stack game development program that I mentioned about, right, like which is 7 months long. So it's a fairly long program. This is the one that aims at catering to an audience that is interested in getting a job in the industry. People who already know ki yaar, I want to become a game developer and I want to professionally build games as part of a team, right? I might want to work at PUBG directly. Like a lot of people have that aspiration ki yaar, let's make PUBG. Some people want to work with Electronic Arts, Ubisoft, etc. as well, right? So here the focus was always, because I have been in companies like Jungly Games, etc. So one funny aspect is that I spent 2 years building Jungly Games. I was the first person they hired in India office to build a mobile gaming focused team. And in 2 years that I spent with Jungly Games, I hired one engineer. Like literally it took us 2 years to find one engineer in India. Like we used to review hundreds of applications every week, which means there are a lot of talent that is excited about getting into games and building games as developers professionally, because what's more cool than that, right? That you get to say, shit, I make games as a living, as this is my day job, right? But then the problem is that majority people don't understand what kind of technical requirements do companies have if they're hiring engineers for game companies, right? So that's where the gap existed, right? We got a lot of applications, but they were not meeting our technical requirements. And as a result, we wanted to build this program, which helps kind of condense this pathway where people who are excited about it are able to build projects, build portfolio, build technical know-how of how to get into these companies as well. And on the other side, we knew companies really face this challenge of finding good quality talent as well, right? So the inception for Outscale kind of came about the personal problems that I'd faced both on the hiring side and then getting hired as well in my early days in my career. And that's how we ended up sort of building these relationships with Mobile Premier League, Encore Games, Simple Game Studios. A lot of our ex-students who have graduated from the program are now working as game developers with these companies. Even one of our early members is now working with Ubisoft as well. So, as long as people have the right passion, I think irrespective of what background they come from, whether they come from technical, computer science, BCom background, they are able to make that transition happen and start to become a professional developer. So that's kind of the journey that we have seen so far.
Awesome. And I went through your Launchpad website, Game School website. Over there, one thing caught my attention was the current XP leaderboard. So can you just, let me know what that is about?
Yeah. So XP again, right? Like all hardcore gamers are usually familiar with what experience points are. All games have these in some kind of shape or form that showcase your progress. So being gamers at the heart of it, we are gamers first, then educators. A lot of the focus was that how do we showcase the right kind of progress to the students as well. So for instance, if you are going through the Launchpad program, there are 3 or 4 different types of XP that you get. So if you're showing up on your Zoom sessions where you get to interact with your mentors and your teammates, you get attendance XP. When you submit your project assignments on time, you get attendance XP. Now, these two are some more obvious ones, but then the unique ones is that, there is a lot of peer-to-peer engagement that happens within the community. So Nikhil, if you and I are both going through the Launchpad program, one thing that we really emphasize on is that if Nikhil, you have implemented, let's say, achievement system in your game, and I have implemented some kind of a double jump mechanic in my game, right? Now I want feedback on how is this my double jump Is it good or is it bad? Have I implemented it correctly? Does it feel also good, both from a player perspective and from an engineering perspective? And you need that same feedback for your feature that you have implemented, right? So we have this peer-to-peer system where, Nikhil, your implementation and your game will get shared by 5 other people as part of your cohort, and they'll give you feedback, right?
Wow.
And you will get the chance to see 5 6 other games almost every day or every week and give them feedback on it as well. So you get to be part of your cohort members and your clan members journey, and they get to be part of your journey, and everybody in the community kind of lifts each other up, right? So when you take part in this peer to peer interaction, you get mentor feedback, mentor XP. So there are these kind of new and novel ways of learning and sharing value with each other that we have tried to do as part of the whole program experience, which are slightly out there and usually not part of the Indian education system, especially, right? Like these kind of things we just don't get to experience, but they are very good learning opportunities because you get to experience things from the other side of the equation, right? So one thing we talk about a lot is that for people who are preparing for interviews and jobs, the best way to learn is not by giving a lot of interviews, is by taking interviews, right? So the moment you take somebody else's interviews, you start to realize what kind of obvious mistakes that the other person does, and then you quickly adapt your own system to say, I'm not going to make these mistakes. So this kind of a peer-to-peer interaction is something that we facilitate, and you get dedicated XP for that as well. So in that Discord system, there is something called as karma system. When you help somebody and somebody else gives you a thank you, you get karma XP. So all of these kind of XP kind of cumulatively give us a picture of how helpful people are within the community, how engaged they are. And this gives us the opportunity to give them potential opportunities for scholarships and funding and get them connected to more partners in the ecosystem, and generally just be helpful all around, right? Like that's the whole sort of essence of the community and how we facilitate that through this XP kind of a system.
Amazing. I have, a statement to make over here about Outscal's way of working. Outscal, to me personally, from whatever you said, is a gamified way of learning how to make games.
Absolutely. Yeah,
So
absolutely. Yep.
congratulations on devising this entire structure. So I want to understand, a little bit about the intent behind creating Outscal. I mean, creating courses that are laser focused on a very small niche, right? Game development is not as popular as these other software development courses, etc., etc. And although it is, looked upon as, grass is always greener on the other side, because gaming is looked at in such manner, right? I mean, making games, it's such a cool thing to do. So what was your idea behind starting Outscal as a company that focuses on making courses that are revolving around games?
Yep. So I think I've been on both sides of the equation personally. In 2009, I graduated from Delhi College of Engineering and got into a tier 1 company, DE Shaw, right? Like it's one of the most coveted companies on IITs and big campuses, right? I was the guy who was highest paid at the peak of financial 2008 recession. I was highest paid in my entire campus at that time. So I was already doing really well. But I quickly realized that finance is just not my thing. It's a fintech, right? I was doing technology in a finance company and quickly realized I hated finance. I wanted to really do something where I loved technology and I could marry it with something, right? In 2010, I started learning about game development while I was in the job as a full-time software developer, right? It took me 2013, it took me 3 years to get my first official internship, and then 2014 to get me my first official professional job as a game developer. And for these 3 4 years, I had to go to US, enroll in a master's program, spend a crap ton of money, right? And still struggled by applying to 200 plus companies to get my first internship. Like it was a hell of a struggle. But just because I was internally driven for it, right? I continued at it no matter how long it took me, right? Because I knew I wanted to do it, right? So so in 2018, when I shut down my previous venture, it was very clear, yeah, ki this was a problem that I faced personally when I was trying to get in. And then when I look back on my Jungly Games experience as well, when I was on the other side of the table, I was interviewing candidates every day. Literally every day we were reviewing engineering candidates and taking interviews, some of them coming from even reputed companies like Disney and whatnot. still they couldn't meet our quality bar, right? And it wasn't that we were asking for outrageous quality, we were asking for strong fundamental knowledge only for junior engineers, right? That's the only thing that you expect. And people were still, like, you could see it in their eyes that they are passionate about it. They talk excitedly about games. They just couldn't connect the dots to the technology, right? Because having seen these two problems on both sides of the equation, I knew this is a deep fundamental problem that only people coming from this background could solve. So I could see a lot of people building educational institutions for web development, data sciences, and e-commerce and whatnot stuff, right? But this was a core passion area for me, right? Like I always knew ki, yaar, I know at the end of the day, I found my founder problem fit. People talk about product market fit, but there is not enough things talked about founder problem fit. When you know that as a founder, as an entrepreneur, you have found a problem that you are happy to say, yeah, I'm willing to commit the next 10, 15 years of my life to it. Even if I don't get one other person working with me on it, I'm fine. Because I know this is my life mission, right? Like once you figure that out, right, then funding, no funding, teammates, no teammates, markets, blah, blah, all that is nonsense, right? Like then you know that you have found your calling and that's something that you want to commit to, right? So once that was clear to me, I think it became much easy. And then obviously we started to see good proof points happens once we started launching clans. The very first clan that we did was like 3 people. I was still doubtful whether this is going to make sense or not. And the moment those 3 people graduated, within 1 week, they had like 14 job offers on the table, like literally
Wow.
14 job offers between 3 people alone.
Wow.
So, we knew that, okay, shit, something had happened here. Something good had happened, and we could see proof of that coming out, right? So that's when I think really at the end of Clan 1, that's when my conviction was like, okay, no, fuck it. This is going to be, meaningful. We can have impact in a lot of people's life, and especially people who are very passionate about it. They don't get avenues to go to places to find good information about, yeah, how does stuff happen in the industry, right? What are the different roles? Basic people have understanding differences of what is a developer and what is a designer, right? Like those fundamental level understanding is also basic. So that was kind of the mission statement that we got started with. And to me, it was clear that this might become a small business just because it's in a niche industry. I'm fine with it, but I know that this is a problem that resonates with me because I have faced it. So I'm at the end of the day, I'm solving it for myself and the future versions of myself. So I see all members that are joining us today, kind of some element of myself in them, right? Because they are at that stage where I was 10 years back, where they needed mentorship, they needed guidance, right? So that was kind of the whole thesis behind it.
Awesome. So this actually reminds me of that, popular scene from Three Idiots movie, when Farhan is talking to his dad, saying that "Kam kamaunga but khush rahunga." So this is your version of "Kam kamaunga but khush rahunga," and
काफी टाइम तक तो कम भी नहीं था, वो जीरो ही था काफी टाइम तक.
And Piyush is typing "Abbu nahi manenge." And gaming for that matter is really hot right now. We on a daily basis we come to see monumental news coming out of this space. Last week Take-Two Interactive announced that they are acquiring Zynga. This week Microsoft announced that they are acquiring Activision Blizzard. So what is your thoughts on the current frenzy that is going on in the gaming space?
So I think everybody, sort of everything, every technology, every industry has like a hype cycle, right? It always, like, for people who are familiar with math, there's like a sine curve, right? Or like C waves, right? Like it will always have like high points, it will have like low points, and then so on and so forth, right? Like the same thing happens with Bitcoin 2017, and then like 2 years everybody forgot. Then again, like NFT craze now, what we are riding another NFT wave, etc., right? And then it's going to die down in some time as well, right? So I think that ups and downs are usually always going to be there. But what I feel is that you got to look at the picture always through first principles and fundamentals, right? That will always help you filter out the signal from the noise, right? That's always kind of been the philosophy as well. So now, irrespective of whatever hype comes up, one thing is for sure, that people who are doing gaming and game development for the reason that they find joy in it, those are the ones that transcend these multiple hype circles, right? And hype cycles, right? No matter what it happens, right? So people who see, oh shit, Microsoft just spent 70 effing billion dollars to buy, a gaming franchisee. So definitely there is something here. Let's start a gaming venture. You'll see majority of those people die out in 2 years once this hype cycle goes down, right? So the people who end up surviving as a career, as a professional, as an entrepreneur, as a gaming founder, right? Like you've been as a gaming founder since like 2013, if I'm not mistaken, right?
That's correct.
Or 12, something like that, right?
Yeah.
So the majority people will hear news that, oh, Nikhil just raised X amount of dollars, blah, blah, blah. This is like gaming is going great. But majority of people don't realize that behind every overnight success, there is a 10-year journey.
Yes,
right?
yes, absolutely.
But the news media article always highlights that one night of fame, right?
Yeah.
So usually there will be these hypes. Hypes will come and go in different shapes and forms. But the moment you understand the fundamental reason of why you are doing it as an individual, at the end of the day, why you are excited about doing it, as long as you're true to that sense, right? You'll always transcend those hype cycle and you'll continue to always sort of have like a upward trajectory, irrespective of whether you are doing it as a business, whether you're doing it as an individual. You'll be always able to separate that. But to your point earlier, like I think gaming definitely is going through a massive boom and an inflection point, partly because of COVID, a lot of the other factors, especially like if you talk about the Indian market, Geo has, made data cheap. A lot of these Chinese phone manufacturers have put good gaming devices in the hands of a lot of mass media as well, right? So gaming has gone through that inflection point where now your average Indian citizen who would never call themselves as gamers are spending 45 minutes to an hour on gaming apps every day, right?
Yeah.
Whether they're playing Ludo or chess or Tambola or something, doesn't matter. They're still gamers, right? They just don't call themselves as gamers, because you think about a gamer is somebody who plays Call of Duty, right? So there has been that inflection point for sure. And I think gaming is just going to go up and up, both from a technology standpoint. AR, VR is getting a lot of adoption in the industrial use cases, etc. as well. So I'm always bullish on gaming sort of becoming the centerpiece of everything, just because of the way it encourages people to engage and interact. At the end of the day, it's a very human thing, and that's the only form of media that transcends language. You can play a game and you don't even speak the same language, but for movies and all, you still need subtitles, right? So I'm very bullish on both gaming and gaming technology use cases as well.
Awesome. And when I open Outscale's website, the very first line I read in front of me is "Join the Web3 and gaming revolution. Games, NFT, and crypto is on the rise." Yeah. So a lot of people, are quite curious of what is happening in this space. Many people, even right now on YouTube, I'm reading a few comments, are asking. We'll divide this question into two parts. First is we'll discuss about NFTs. What are NFTs exactly? And how is it that these NFTs or Web3 that is going to shape up the future? So two questions over here. First is what are NFTs? Explain in a very simple way. Sure. Second is how is the Web3 going to impact the future of gaming?
Got it. Okay, good. So I think let me just quickly take time to explain what NFTs are. So when we talk about NFT just stands for non-fungible tokens, right? So what that essentially means is that today, if Nikhil, you have $100 note, and if I have $100 note, they're exactly the same. If we both exchange our notes, you have the same value, I have the same value. There's nothing unique about that currency that you hold and the currency that I hold, right? And it's the same in the software ecosystem, right? Like if you have a copy of Microsoft Windows and I have a copy of Microsoft Windows, they're exactly the same. They function the same, they work the same, they do the same purpose, right? So when artists, when creators, they create some form of digital media, whether it's a song, whether it's a painting or a graphic or a GIF or whatever, right? If you download a copy and I download a copy legally, we have the same thing, right? There's nothing that differentiates it, right? So the way NFTs work is they basically are able to assign something as a unique entity to everything that's digitally produced, essentially, right? So what we are saying is that tomorrow, if you get a painting and I have a painting, they're both actually unique. We can't just exchange them and say we have the same thing again, right? So if I have a painting that's fundamentally unique and I can showcase to the world that this is a unique painting that I own in the digital space. In the physical space, it was easy to say that, hey, there's a Mona Lisa or here's a painting of XYZ character and it's the original copy is inside a museum somewhere, right? So that's the original we know. And that's what people pay money to go and see, right? But in the digital world, that concept didn't exist, right? So what NFTs have done is that it has given creators a way to create these unique elements that then can be bought and sold on like a traditional marketplace kind of an approach, right? And the benefit it is that fundamental benefit that the creators get out of it is, today, if I'm creating a painting in the physical world and I sell it to you, Nikhil, tomorrow you keep it for 10 more years, it becomes an antique or something, and you sell it to somebody else, you get the value of that antique and whatever value that it has accrued.
Right.
But with NFTs and blockchains, fundamentally, right, what people have tried to do is that give more value to the people who are creating things, right? And that is where the fundamental promise of Web3 comes in. I'll come back to Web3 part as well. But it gives you more power to say that as a creator, if you've created something unique and people are liking it, they're buying it and sharing it and selling it multiple times, the creators also get benefit out of it because it has some unique code attached to it, which uniquely identifies that this item is unique. Only one of this exists in the world, right? So that's kind of the concept of NFTs. Sorry, what was your second question regarding Web3? I totally forgot.
The next question was, how is Web3 going to impact gaming in the future? Or we keep on hearing about metaverse and NFTs being like the revolution in gaming, etc., etc. So what are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. So I think fundamentally, when people understand what Web3 is, right? At the end of the day, Web2, like I think majority of people don't even know the term Web2 because Web2 was never really a term that was very popular. But it was a place on a time in the era where companies like Uber and Airbnb came into existence, right? Where their role as internet companies was to help connect people. On one side, you had people who were providing a certain service, and on the other side, people who needed this service, right? So the reason why Uber and Airbnb is valuable companies today is because they were in the Web2 world, build a platform that provided this exchange of value, right? Via Airbnb, via Uber, etc., right? And that's why these companies are valuable. So what Web3 promises to do is that build a more open world where you don't need a central entity like Airbnb or Uber to facilitate this transaction of value, right? So people in a more independent manner can offer their service, and other people can avail that service and pay for that service through cryptocurrencies and through coins and whatnot, right? So that's the fundamental promise of Web3, right? Where it puts the power in the hands of the end parties rather than somebody in the middle, right? Today, if Uber says, hey, we are changing our percentage take from 5% to 25%, drivers can't do much about it, right? That's where Uber holds a lot of value. And Uber holds a lot of power of the ecosystem, right? But if you remove Uber from the equation, now suddenly drivers say how much percentage they want to give to the platform, right? Whatever this platform might be, right? So that's where the fundamental promise of Web3 comes in. Now, when you apply that same concept to gaming as well, right? I think today we are seeing some limiting use cases of, where NFTs and Web3 can come into games. The more obvious ones are, hey, can I have, exclusive items inside games that I can then sell on a blockchain and get dollars back out of it, right? Real rupees back out of it. So far, you would always buy items in the game, and then those items would be there with you, whether you play the game or not, right? It's there. You cannot cash out anything out of it, right? So that's where, models like Play and Earn have gotten popular with games like Axie Infinity, where you can actually drive monetary value out of the game and out of the ecosystem by putting something, aka your time and effort, into the games as well, right? I think these are just we're just starting to scratch the surface in terms of what blockchain based ecosystems can do. I'm really excited to see what the future kind of holds, because I feel like we're not even 1% there yet,
Yeah.
right? Like we're in the very early stages of figuring out what models will work, how will it impact. But you can imagine that tomorrow there are completely open-ended platforms like not Microsoft, Minecraft, where people can build full-fledged 3D virtual worlds and put them up for sale. So you can
Right.
be an architect of a gaming world, you can build it, and that could that could be a replica of a real world entity that you might. So for example, like Nikhil, if you grew up in certain part of Mumbai and somebody really builds a nice replica of that in the digital world, now that has a deep emotional connection to you as an individual, right? But to
Yeah.
me, I'm living in Delhi, that has no relevance for me. So you will be willing to pay and buy that property and use that as your, getaway spot in the virtual world, or hang out with your childhood friends there in a virtual environment, right?
Yeah.
So there are a lot of these kind of newer, exciting things that can be built that you and I haven't even dreamt of today, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things that Outscale wants to enable is that till last year we were focusing on gaming, but this year we announced that we are now expanding the scope from gaming to gaming and Web3,
Yeah.
because one of the very fundamental things for me was that can we get the right kind of mixture of people who are excited about the power of Web3, people who are excited about building this gaming ecosystems, building games, etc., bring those kind of minds into the community and let them create magic, right? Let them create
Yeah.
awesome projects. So that's the thing that got me excited last year when I was thinking about, should we expand the scope of Outscale to include
Yeah.
projects and upskilling for Web3 ecosystem, and not just limited to what NFTs are today, what kind of transaction blockchains are facilitating today, but also in future as well, how we should be able to do this kind of unique, awesome projects which we can't even think of today.
Yeah. Mayank, on a lighter note, we got a comment on YouTube saying that you look like Sundar Pichai. So I'm actually, with your
Yeah.
permission, I would like to take a poll on my YouTube channel. Does Mayank Grover look like Sundar Pichai? So can I go ahead and do that?
Yeah, please.
So guys, I have
I
asked.
generally joke about this. I get this a lot as well.
So I've asked in the YouTube live chat, does Mayank look like Sundar Pichai? So go ahead and put your votes on it. So this was a lot of fun, Mayank.
Actually,
Yeah, tell me.
I would have asked you to change the question to say, does Sundar Pichai look like Mangalore?
So that was and instantly after reading that, I realized, oh damn, yes, you do look like Sundar Pichai. So Mayank, this was a lot of fun, and these are all future technologies, but then we are living in here and now. And Outscale, for in my opinion, is doing a wonderful job in educating people about this space. So what are your extended set of thoughts towards two sets of people? Now let's look at this from two angles. One is a guy who has a persona who has just started his game development journey, and then the second type of guy who has no idea about how to enter this industry. So what are your general advice for both of these guys, or girls for that matter?
So anybody who's looking to get started in the game development or just gotten started as well, right? I think if you are looking to build this as a professional career, right, having deep skill set is something that I first encourage everybody to get, right? Like if you know that you are doing it, and I'll broaden the question up to not just engineering, but there might be designers, people who are interested in art, etc. as well, right? So whichever vertical that you are focused in, right, try and build projects in that skill set, right? Like that's gonna be the key towards anything whatsoever you do, right? You have to make sure that you have projects, because today, fundamentally, one thing that's different in the industry is that there is a show don't tell culture, which means don't tell me that you know XYZ, show me that you know XYZ. And the only way that you show today things is by having projects as part of your portfolio, right? Whether you are an animator, have animation projects. If you are a artist or a 2D creator or a 3D creator, make sure that you have those kind of relevant projects. If you're an engineer, make sure you have a GitHub repository of code projects, etc. Right? Just have strong technical depth in whichever element. When I say technical, I don't mean engineering only, but technical depth in whichever vertical that you're aiming for, right? So if you're working towards building that career, that's the only way to get started today in order to break into the industry. And I'm sure like Nikhil is also hiring, I know, for his studio, and he'll be looking at those kind of projects as well to see that whether you are a good fit to even interview first, right? Like that's usually the preliminary selection criteria for every company today, right? So from that perspective, that's a good way to get started. And of course, second step that you need to do is make sure you talk to people. A lot of people are scared of reaching out. Use LinkedIn. LinkedIn is your best friend. Reach out to other people who are 2 steps ahead of you, people who have just started as a professional game developer, right? Look at people who are just sharing posts, such as one hack that I usually recommend to people is that look at people who are posting, hey, I got a new job as a junior game developer or junior game programmer. Just go to LinkedIn and search for these new job posts, right? And reach out to these people. Talk to them. They'll be very helpful and they'll be open to helping you understand how did they get that job, right? Like what was their interview process like, what helped them, right? So this is all those people who are already doing some kind of a game development career roadmap path as well. For others, if you are thinking about it, right, like you're like, hey, I don't even know where to get started, right? So I think Outscale is the perfect place for you from that perspective, because there's a lot of free resources that we have put out as well. And one thing that we will be announcing very shortly is a new sort of a platform where you'll get to learn a lot of stuff for free as well, especially for people who are just looking to get started, right? And we have an active Discord community as well. So Nikhil probably will share the link with you guys later as well. But feel free to join the Discord community. It's 100% open and free for anybody. You get to interact with a lot of the other members who are not just graduated, but are also in that journey, but 2-3 steps ahead of you, right? So talking to a lot of these people will always give you a better clarity in terms of what you want to do, how you want to do it, and what are the milestones that you should be setting for yourself. Hey, I want to do 2 game projects in 3 months from now, or I want to do X1 project in 1 month, etc. So whatever those things are, by talking to a lot more people, you'll be able to figure out what's the right roadmap for you as well. Okay.
Awesome. And just to expand on that, there's a wonderful question coming in the chat on Zoom from Joy Kumar. He asks, open sourcing the testing process is more closer to real testing, but does it add challenges to the development lifecycle? I got to know Gameon achieved it. Would love to know how you guys faced it. So essentially, typically for me personally, I follow the simple philosophy that you have to put out your content, as you rightly said. Until and unless your game is in silo or your project is in silo and you are the only guy working on it, you don't come to know about what are the sort of shortcomings that your projects have. So Mumbai Gillies, for that matter, Mumbai Gillies is an ambitious project, and many people will think that your idea might get leaked. They have a lot of stigma around your idea getting copied or stolen, etc., etc. We've all heard these stories about Facebook and all. And I think it's just over glorified. I think without sharing your idea, you won't get feedback. And without feedback, you cannot build a great product. So for me personally, Joy, since this question is directed to me, my funda was simple. I have created this community and I know the community is out there to help me. So I was very much comfortable making sure that the testing process is open. And we used the normal channels, such as much of our games are on mobile, so we used platforms such as Google Play Store for our testing, and that's just generally my philosophy. But Mayank, over to you. What is your thought process on this entire stigma around sharing? Why are people so afraid of sharing?
Yeah, I think it's just that we've always been competitive from childhood. Ki our class mein there's going to be only one topper, right? We are always bred in that mindset that when you are in part of the education system, if you're not the topper, somebody else is going to be. So there's only one person, right? We are not used to this mentality that not everything is a ranking system, right? Not everything is competition in the true sense that if one person wins, everybody else loses, right?
Yeah.
There is a lot of competition where a lot of people can win, right?
Yeah.
These are fundamentally what are called as positive sum games, right?
Yeah.
Where the more people contribute, like the peer-to-peer example that I was telling you about, right? Just because I tell you, Nikhil, that yeah, you can improve your games by adding these new ideas, just by adding more value to you as a game developer and giving you creative ideas doesn't take away from my game project anything.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
that's a fundamentally a positive sum game, which means the more we are genuine about our interactions, right, the more we are able to help each other and better build up, right? So we are a very strong believer in this kind of attitude itself, and we encourage people to share things as much as possible, because like you said, right, like if you don't get feedback, you don't know what you're doing well and what you're doing wrong, right? At the
Yeah.
end of the day, you're not building something for yourself, you're building for customers, you're building for players. And if you don't take their feedback, who the hell are you building it for? Right. And more than that, right, like more than just the feedback, you need people to be with you on this journey. Not everybody is a kick-ass solo indie dev who can spend 10 years in a nuclear bunker and build a kick-ass game, right? Like,
Yeah.
yes, those examples exist in real world as well, but
Yeah.
there are like, out of 7 billion people on this planet, there are like probably 10 of those examples,
Right.
right? The odds are not stacked in your favor if you hide yourself in a nuclear bunker and build a game. It's just
Right.
not gonna work, right? So
Right.
openly share your ideas, talk to more and more people, as many people as possible, because even if one person tries to steal your idea, 99 people will be helpful,
Yeah.
right? And the impact that those helpful people will have will always outweigh that one person who's trying to steal your idea, because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, ideas are worth shit.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
You can beep it out, but ideas are worth absolutely shit. It's all in the execution, right?
Yeah.
Anybody could have imagined Minecraft, right? Minecraft is not a difficult thing to imagine,
Yeah.
right? But there is still only one Minecraft,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, anybody living in Mumbai, half of my Outscale team is Maharashtrian, they can imagine Mumbai gullies as well. But
Yes.
there's still only one Mumbai gullies and one team that's working on it, right? So
Correct.
ideas are a dime in a dozen. Majority people who hold ideas truly, they just believe in that key. If I let my idea out, there will be somebody else who's going to win. That
Correct.
doesn't happen, because winning takes 10 years, right?
Yeah.
Or even more, right?
Yeah.
So if you are passionate about that idea, other person who's copying it might die out in 2 years from now, right? Because they
Right.
follow that hype cycle. But then you
Yeah.
are doing it for the right reason. You'll stay committed to it. You'll find more people to support you, to build a community around you, to provide you that feedback, to provide you the support that you need, and sometimes even join you on that journey, right?
Correct.
So you'll find more people who are helpful than more people who are a-holes, right?
Yeah.
So usually that's always the mentality. And building in open, building it out there, learning in open, these are the kind of ethos that kind of resonates in like Outscale's DNA. And you can talk to anybody who's already going through Outscale. On day one of orientation, we talk about these things. How do you build your projects in open, push out your projects to LinkedIn community, share your updates transparently, no matter how kick-ass the game might be, right?
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. Nobody's going to steal it.
Additionally, I would like to just add to your point. People can steal your idea, but they cannot steal your execution. So you have to keep that in mind. Plus, the market size is too big, man. There are, as you mentioned, there are 7 billion plus people, and Amazon exists, Flipkart exists, and additionally,
Yep.
there are tons of other e-com websites as well. So no matter what, if you believe that you can put in your execution, nobody else can steal that execution, and nobody else can tell your story the way that you tell your story, right? So just keep that at the back of your mind. And Mayank, I think we've kind of come to an end of the time as well. But this was fun. This was a lot of fun, Mayank, and I had a great time talking to you about all these courses. And I hope that my audience, they go and check out Outscale and join the game launchpad as well. And I hope some of you guys get the scholarship. Is the scholarship still open?
So we just closed the cohort
Oh, yeah.
just last week.
Okay.
So we already kickstarted the cohort, but no worries. Like for folks who might be looking for it, definitely join the Discord community. We'll
Yeah.
most likely announce when we are doing the next cohort And like events like this one also keep happening as well. So
Yeah.
you'll get to engage with a lot of members, and also, you know, the broader community is always going to be there to guide you in terms of where and what you can do as well. So the Outscale team is also there on this thing, but most likely we'll announce when we are doing the next cohort and the scholarship, etc.
Awesome. So additionally what I'll do is guys, मैं मेरे चैनल के ऊपर चैट में आउटस्केल की जो डिस्कॉर्ड लिंक है वो डाल रहा हूँ, जाइए आप सब लोग इस डिस्कॉर्ड चैनल को ज्वाइन कीजिए, एंड जो भी इनके तरफ से अपडेट्स है वो इनके डिस्कॉर्ड चैनल पे आपको मिल जाएंगे. इनकी वेबसाइट चेकआउट कीजिए, मयंक ग्रोवर इज ऑल्सो ऑन लिंक्डइन, इनकी प्रोफाइल भी चेकआउट कीजिए, गेट इन टच विद हिम. He is out there to help you on your journey in game development. And from my side, just wishing Outscale all the best, and keep doing what you guys are doing. I think you guys are doing a wonderful job. And additionally, I would be more than happy to help out in any additional capacity that I can.
Perfect. Thanks, Nikhil, and thanks for having me. And then also all the best for Mumbai Gully's project as well. Really excited.
Yeah.
To see,
thank you. Thanks.
Once that game comes out as well.
Thanks, Mayank, and thanks to the entire team of Outscale, Piyush, Abhishek, and everyone else who has joined in, Sham, for organizing this for us. And take care, guys. Have a wonderful evening. And yeah, I think we can stop streaming on YouTube, and then we can carry